absolute supervision, no freedom of speech, and imprisonment for those who speak up against it. Over the past years, lots of people were worried that we would live in such a state. During the pandemic, those voices became even louder. But what if I told you that they were right all the time? What if I told you your long-lost uncle was killed by the government because he was asking the wrong questions? What if I told you that the war your country is in right now is just made up and the bombs that fall onto your city are actually produced by your neighbor? Of course, that isn't the reality. But the famous novel 1984 by George Orwell turns what I just told you into reality. Winston Smith is the protagonist of George Orwell's novel 1984. He's a 30-year-old man who is physically weak and suffers from various ulcers on his legs. He has a gaunt and worn appearance with a small mustache, and his face is described as haggard and lined. He speaks in a quiet, hesitant manner, often using a low, grumbling tone, and he is prone to long silences. Winston is a low-ranking member of the ruling party in the totalitarian society of Oceania. He works as a clerk in the records department of the Ministry of Truth, where his job is to rewrite historical records to conform with the party's official versions of events. He is an intellectual and a nonconformist, which puts him at odds with the party's strict conformity and totalitarian control. He is deeply disillusioned with the party and its leader, Big Brother, and secretly harbors rebellious thoughts and feelings. He is also deeply unhappy with his own life, feeling trapped and powerless in a society where individuality and free thought are suppressed. Despite his unhappiness, Winston is initially too afraid to openly rebel against the party. However, as the novel progresses, he begins to take small actions of rebellion, such as writing in a secret diary and forming a forbidden romantic relationship. These actions lead to his eventual capture and torture by the party, who use mind control techniques to force him to conform to their ideology. In summary, Winston Smith is a complex character who is deeply disillusioned with the oppressive society in which he lives, yet initially too afraid to take action. He is an intellectual nonconformist and a rebel at heart, who is ultimately broken by the party's use of mind control. But Winston isn't the only important protagonist in the development of the novel. As already mentioned, Winston forms a forbidden romantic relationship. The woman he is forming that relationship with is called Julia. Her last name isn't known to the reader, but Julia is the perfect example to show how round Winston's character is. On page 32 you can read the following sentences. It was even possible at moments to switch one's hatred this way or that by a voluntary act. Suddenly, by the sort of violent effort with which one wrenches one's head away from the pillow in a nightmare, Winston succeeded in transferring his hatred from the face on the screen to the dark-haired girl behind him. Vivid, beautiful hallucinations flashed through his mind. He would flog her to death with a rubber truncheon. He would tie her naked to a stake and shoot her full of arrows, like Saint Sebastian. He would ravish her and cut her throat at the moment of climax. You can see, Winston doesn't seem to like Julia too much, to say it harmlessly. But that changes over the novel. You have to know that the state of Oceania, which they live in, has strict rules of romantic relationships, sex and pregnancy. If it isn't due to the purpose of reproduction, sex is strictly forbidden because it is a waste of time and brings people closer, which can be dangerous. But to be allowed to have children with another person, you must be married and get the allowance to start your own family and reproduce. So things take a turn when Julia gives Winston a little note with the 3 words "I love you" written on them. Winston was once engaged, but it didn't work out. The wife was a true devotee of the party. But Winston would have been able to live with that if there wouldn't have been that one thing: sex. She turned stiff and winced when he touched her. Winston describes their sexual acts as horrible. Furthermore, you can conclude that sex is important for Winston, but not as a duty to the party, more as an act of rebellion. With that, he's very happy to enter the romance with Julia, since she enjoys having unallowed sex as well. And the hatred is gone. Winston reasoned his hatred once with the beauty of Julia and the fact that he could never enjoy her beautiful body. That is based on the narrow scarlet sash of the anti-sex league around Julia's waist. But it turns out that she uses it as a cover. So Winston has a friend and a partner on his side to fight the party together. But who's Julia? She's a young woman. Her exact age is not specified in the novel, but she's described as being young and attractive. She has dark hair, bold eyes, and a full-lipped mouth. She is described as being sensual and attractive with a healthy and strong appearance. Julia works in the fiction department of the Ministry of Truth. She is initially portrayed as carefree and hedonistic, engaging in sexual relationships with party members for personal pleasure and secretly opposing the party's strict control over the citizens. As the novel progresses, Julia's character is further developed as she forms a romantic relationship with Winston, the protagonist. She becomes his lover and accomplice in his small acts of rebellion against the party. Julia is a brave and determined individual who is not afraid to take risks and stand up for what she believes in. Despite her initially carefree attitude, she is deeply committed to the cause of freedom and willing to make sacrifices for it. Julia speaks in a confident and assertive manner. She does not hesitate to express her thoughts and opinions. She is also described as being a good listener and is able to understand and empathize with Winston's feelings and thoughts. With that said, I think that Winston and Julia are round characters as their personalities and beliefs are well developed and change over the course of the novel. But as in any good novel, there can't only be protagonists. There must be an antagonist as well. In 1984, this role is taken by the party and its representing faces and roles. The leader of the party is Big Brother. You might have heard the famous line, "Big Brother is watching you." That originates from the novel, since the party is known for watching every single member and having the citizens spy on each other. And with antagonists comes a conflict. You probably already have a kind of idea what's going to be the conflict, but I will explain it to you anyways. The main conflict in the novel is the struggle between Winston Smith, the protagonist, and the totalitarian government of Oceania. The government, led by the party and its leader, Big Brother, seeks to control every aspect of its citizens' lives and to erase all individuality and free thought. Winston rebels against the government's control and seeks to reclaim his individuality and his right to think and feel freely. O'Brien, a high-ranking member of the party, serves as the primary antagonist in the novel. He is initially presented as a sympathetic character who sympathizes with Winston's rebellion against the party and even helps Winston and Julia engage in the forbidden relationship. However, it is ultimately revealed that O'Brien is a loyal party member who has been tasked with catching and torturing Winston into submission. O'Brien's role in the conflict is to serve as a symbol of the party's power and its use of mind control to suppress dissent. The conflict between Winston and the government is primarily psychological, as Winston's rebellion is an internal struggle against the government's propaganda and brainwashing. The conflict comes to a head when Winston is captured by the party and subjected to a brutal program of psychological and physical torture designed to break his spirit and force him to accept the party's ideology. In the end, Winston is broken and comes to accept the party's control, thus highlighting the power of the government to crush individual rebellion and enforce conformity. So, you see, this book is packed with plots and turns. But we're not done yet. Since we got that lovely worksheet, I still got to tell you some things. So what can I tell you about the title? The title, 1984, refers to the year in which the story is set, and also serves as a warning of the dangers of totalitarianism and the need for constant vigilance against it. The title is interesting and encapsulates the message of the text well. What themes or motives stand out? How do they contribute to the work? Well, the themes and motives that stand out in the story include the dangers of totalitarianism and the need for freedom of thought, the power of language and how it can be used to control and manipulate people, and the importance of individuality and self-expression. These themes and motives contribute to the work by highlighting the dangers of a society that suppresses individuality and free thought, and the importance of standing up for one's beliefs. Does the plot contain surprising twists and turns? As I already told you, the plot of the story contains several surprising twists and turns, particularly in the final stages of the story when Winston is captured and tortured by the party. These twists and turns are effective in building tension and keeping the reader engaged. Another important question: how would you describe this author's particular style? Is it accessible to all readers or just some? The author's writing style is marked by its simplicity, clarity, and directness, making it accessible to all readers. And last but not least, what is the main idea of the work? What makes it good, different, or groundbreaking? As I already said, the main idea of the work is a warning against the dangers of totalitarianism and the need for constant vigilance against it. The novel is considered groundbreaking in its portrayal of a dystopian society and the prescient warning of the dangers of totalitarianism. The novel is considered a classic of dystopian literature and continues to be read and studied today. Oh, and wait, I almost forgot about the author. George Orwell was born on the 25th June 1903 and died on the 21st January 1950. His real name is Eric Arthur Blair. He was a novelist, essayist, and a journalist. He was also the man who wrote the famous book Animal Farm. After all those analytics, I feel the need to tell you my opinion because this is the internet where everybody likes to share everything. So let me tell you something about 1984. I already knew a bit about the book. My father told me that it's about some totalitarian state and supervision and it's a must read. So since it ranked as world literature, I thought this was a good chance to read it because I was planning on doing so anyways. Therefore, there wasn't a choice over another book. But I was really surprised how rough the book was. Sometimes George Orwell went into full detail and totally flabbergasted me with his precise descriptions of brutal acts like rape or torture. But I would totally recommend this book. It really fulfills its purpose of achieving a kind of awareness of the risk of states growing too strong and turning into totalitarian states with supervision over their citizens. George Orwell is also able to explain how propaganda works throughout the different media and breaks it even down to language. He shows us how much power one gains when he ensures through censorship that the population knows next to nothing about the current situation in and outside the state's borders. In conclusion, I would say it's rather important to read the book so one could see the development of such a stage in its early phases and try to prevent it from growing too strong. I hope I got everything and kept it at least a bit entertaining. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, activate the bell and all. You know how it goes. Bye!